So now we will again look into other things. So I will go to this customer feedback, and currently I'm logged in, so I will just quickly log out. I will just go to this customer feedback section again. I will just provide any comment. Let's say I want to provide this comment is by unauthenticated user, and in this result I will just say 12. And as you can see that without selecting the rating I cannot click on submit. So let me just quickly go and let's say inspect element over this submit button. Just quickly go and say inspect and find out this submit button somewhere over here. This is the submit button, it seems. Okay, so this is the submit button, and there should be something disabled equals to true. So I will just quickly say disabled equals to false, and as you can see still not open. Okay, let me just quickly, I will just say enabled equals to true, and as you can see now that this button is enabled. So I will just quickly go and submit, and as you can see that your feedback is submitted, and I also got scored that you successfully solved a challenge 0 stars. So now always make sure that whenever certain functionalities such as like a particular field is required, otherwise you cannot submit things. So check for client side validations. There is another way that you can select any star, click on submit, and then capture the request with burp suit, and then do the same thing like this. Let's say comment, let's say anything, just say 1823. Then just quickly turn on the burp suit over here, go to here, intercept is on, and click on submit. I guess this is not properly on. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so let's say anything test. This is 811. Then let's intercept this. Now what I will do is basically I will simply just remove this rating, and this capture is not 3. Okay, then we'll simply just do response, and right now it's giving me internal server error. And as you can see that this is also revealing some error message. As a pen testing, you can also report this issue as stack trace revealing the internal server or internal paths and all. So this is also reportable issue in pen testing specifically, although the impact is very low, but yeah, you can report it. So again I will go 1811. Over here is this. Now I'll say rating equals to 0. And this time you can see that we got a success over here. So I will send this to repeater again, and then I can intrude this as many times as I want, because it's always success, because this captcha ID is something static. Like for every captcha there's a fixed response. Let's say if I will change this captcha ID to 1, then the response might be wrong, because this is wrong. So they are hard coded. So these are some of the ways that you should always check for. Now I can intrude this, and every time the rating will go to 0, the average rating will come down, right? Now let's see some more things over here. Like I can just also there is an option called user ID. So let's see if I can just enter a user ID field arbitrary over here. I will just inject user ID, and I will give some user ID, say 1. Let's accept the input, and if you can see that it actually accepts this user ID as an input. Let me give a user ID as a string, like let's say anything string, and you can see that this do not accept, and also that force feedback, post some feedback, some other user's name. So basically you can say that I was able to perform a parameter pollution attack over here, that some user ID which was not actually a part of request, I can inject it in as a part of request by looking at the response. So this is this one thing is again an interesting thing that you can go and check. You can do anything like you can check for how many IDs are there. So you can see that there is a SQL error, SQLite constant foreign key constraint failed. So there are high chances that this field might be vulnerable to SQL injection, right? Now when I say this some random, I get some JSON parse error over here, as you can see here. So whenever I see that there is some SQLite error or something like that, so the next approach, so let's just again quickly confirm what error we get. Again, foreign key constraint failed. So what I will do is I will just quickly copy this up. I will go here on my VPS. we create a file called let's say SQL map underscore let's say just juice shop. Okay, juice shop nano juice. Then I will simply paste it up, and the field which was actually vulnerable or which was looking vulnerable, I will just say star to it so that SQL map can get to know that okay, which field to test for. I will run a simple SQL map command over here, SQL map -r, then say juice, and that's it. And then it will say that there is a custom injection marker star found in the post body. Do you want to process it? I will say yes, I want to process it. Then the JSON data found, you want to process it? Again, yes. And it will just go through the various databases and just again say yes. And it says that the parameter might not be injectable. There are some errors, so you can also like add some temper scripts. You can change the random agent. So I will just say random agent. Although I'm not sure if this particular field is vulnerable or not, but I'm just trying some various ways to see if actually it's vulnerable or not. So this is the one attempt that you can try, but so that our application currently do not get impacted by any way, I will just do this last attempt. Otherwise, we will see this thing in next sections. So this is how you can use a post request method for the SQL injection. Simply save it in a file, use R flag and give the file name and use the flags that you want to use. Okay, so this was the again an interesting thing that we were able to post a 0-star rating, which is a business logic issue because you are not supposed to post a 0-star rating, right? This is something that you can check into most of the e-commerce or any application which has this review functionality, right? Now the next thing is that there is also this particular thing where I can be some other author. Now let's see if there is a particular way where I can go and verify it. So if I go over here, there should be some way to verify this. So yeah, if you can, if you will see, there are some reviews over here. Let's see if my reviews are getting reflected over there or not. This comment is by unauthenticated user. You can see that the review over here is null, which is something that I did. That then again the test user did some this is something that we did, this test review, and as you can see that there are null, and so these are the few things that we were able to successfully inject, so that this tells us that the attack was successful. Now the next thing that we are going to look at is the cookies. Let's see how cookies work for this particular application. So when you go right click inspect, it opens up the dev tools. These are the really useful tools. You can see all the various requests being happening over the time when you do some. Let's just quickly do this. So you will see all the files getting loaded and everything. You can select which file you specifically want to see. Let's say you want to see the JS file or you want to see all the files. You can just use the filters. Now let's go to this application tab. So these are the cookies. These two cookies are using the HTTP only flag, but the rest of the cookies are not using any flag, and the secure flag is missing for all. This is again a security issue, that at least you can report that the secure flag is missing. So an attacker can steal the cookies over an unencrypted channel, and since the application is not using HTTPS or TLS protocols, this is a security issue again. Okay. So now let's check for other web SQL. There is nothing. IndexedDB, there is nothing. Let's go to session storage. There is again nothing. Go to local storage. There is again nothing. So I guess since we are not authenticated, these fields are not populated yet. Okay. So let me now just quickly go and again go to inspect sources, and this main.js file is again is something which is interesting because this seems to be a main JavaScript file as we discussed earlier. So now let's see if we can find something. Often the JavaScript files also contain some interesting paths. So what I will do next is I will search for the string paths. What's the path? Let's see if I can. Okay, that's interesting, right? If you see over here, there are certain paths like administration, accounting, about. There's address select, address edit, address ID. So these are the paths. Sometimes you will not find the paths directly, but these are something which are present in the application. So first of all, these paths if are hard code in the application, you should make sure that these are not accessible to an unauthenticated user. For now, this administration functionality looks interesting to me. I'll just quickly copy this up. We'll go here and just say administration. And as you can see that we are not allowed to access this page, but error message, is it reflecting something? Let's check for it. Okay, so this error message was supposed to reflect something. So always check if something in the URL is exactly same being reflected here, and just test for the various issues. So the first thing I will check over here is to just say h1 test. This is how we start testing for the cross-site scripting by first of all using simple scripting tags, and then go about this. Right now it's not injecting anything, but still it's an interesting attack vector, potential attack vector for us. So we will try some different payloads. So as you can see that this might be encoding some of the characters, and it might not reflect something interesting. So yeah, always make sure that you are trying everything out there. So in the next section, we will look at some other stuff. We will look at the how we can basically abuse the functionalities which are present after the login. So I will just quickly switch over to my Burp Suite again, and will show you some of the quick hacks that you should keep in mind while you are doing a pen test.